And people who believe, I mean, first I'd say Christians, but far beyond Christians, just people who believe in speech. I mean, there's nothing offensive about what Phil Robertson said, but the part about, when he talks about, I just don't get it, you can do so much more with a woman's vagina than a man's anus, but then quickly says, but, I'm not judgmental, sin is sin. In fact, he puts fornicating heterosexuals on a darker plane than homosexuality.
All right, folks, welcome to the Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show on this Christmas week. Glad you're all aboard. Hope you had a great weekend. And that, of course, was Ann Coulter making some news last week on this show. And over the weekend, in case you missed it, a defiant Duck Dynasty star, Phil Robertson, told a Bible study class in Louisiana on Sunday that he's not backing down from the comments that he made, saying that his GQ magazine comments came from the Bible, and he's not sorry that he said them. Joining us now to discuss all of this and more is Gregory Angelo, Executive Director of the Log Cabin Republicans. Hello, good to see you. Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming in.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, first let's start with, Mr. Robertson not backing down. I mean, what's your take on this whole thing?
Sure. Well, from the Log Cabin Republicans' perspective, we're coming at this from a place of conversation rather than condemnation.
And we should point out that the Log Cabin Republicans, for those who may not know, is a Republican gay advocacy group, gay group.
Sure. We represent not only gay conservatives, but also straight allies of gay conservatives. Okay. So you don't need to be gay or lesbian in order to be a part of or a supporter of Log Cabin Republicans. We are consistently reminding the left that not all gay individuals are Democrats, and certainly not everyone who is a Republican is opposed to equal rights for gay and lesbian individuals. Okay. But regarding these Phil Robertson comments, the knee-jerk reaction from the left the moment they read these excerpts from this GQ interview was to wag their finger, to condemn. We said, hey, this is a great opportunity to have a conversation with a community that the gay community has, I think, overlooked, shut out, refused to engage for a while, and that is the evangelical Christian community. So we said, hey, here's a great opportunity. You have the #1 show in the history of cable television. You have an evangelical family, and clearly a lot of those viewers of Duck Dynasty also identify as evangelical Christians, probably hold a lot of those same values that the Robertson household does. And so we saw this as a great opportunity to engage rather than just to admonish.
And you're calling for, you're calling it a Moonshine Summit?
Yeah, we're jokingly.
What would you like? What would you like to have happen?
Yeah, sure. We're half-jokingly call it a Moonshine Summit, just to kind of take away a little bit of the intensity that's going on around. Take the edge off a bit, right, exactly. And just say, hey, let's meet halfway.
Who would you like to meet with?
Hey, well, I'm a big fan of Cy, but certainly I think, Robertson would, the fact that he's at the center of this controversy right now, I think engaging with him first and foremost is important. But, we did have this invitation to everyone in the Robertson household, and this is something that it's a conversation that needs to happen. Now, a lot of these organizations that are wagging their finger at the Duck Dynasty clan are coming from Los Angeles. It's these limousine liberals in L.A. Well, what we're saying is we want to come from the other L.A., Louisiana, take members that we have in Louisiana who are supporters of Second Amendment protections, who identify as Christians themselves, and have a conversation with the family that way.
And you say that you're a fan of Cy, so you've watched the show.
I have, yeah.
Which is more than I could say and more than Ann Coulter was able to say, by the way, as well. So have your views changed? In other words, will you still watch the show? Are you still going to be a fan of the show?
Yeah, I don't know that I'd say I was ever a fan of the show. It's a show that I've watched, and I understand why Duck Dynasty resonates with so many Americans, and also why it resonates with so many Log Cabin Republicans. While I'm not a fan of the show, I don't watch it regularly. The fact is, and we don't usually wade into reality television.
Right, but why would so many Log Cabin
reaching out to us saying you gotta talk
why do so many Log Cabin Republicans, as you put it, why are they fans of the show? Why do you think the appeal is?
I think that what Duck Dynasty represents is a part of America that a lot of people can relate to. This is just a family getting by that built up a business, built up their own business, and they actually pursued the American dream. And they're not coming from urban parts of the country. They're not these limousine liberals. They have their own values, and they hold those near and dear.
Ann Coulter he said nothing offensive. Dr. Drew told me that he wasn't spewing hate. He was spewing ignorance. Where do you fall in? I mean, do you agree with A&E's move? Should they not have taken him off the series? Also, Cracker Barrel, who pulled their spots, all the Duck Dynasty stuff out. Now they put it back under public pressure. Where do you fall on all this?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think, to me, what caused us to make this statement about Duck Dynasty and the reason why we wanted to engage is, and the reason why I believe some people, including Log Cabin Republicans members, were offended by this, is not so much that Phil Robertson said, I don't approve of homosexuality because the Bible says that it's not right. The quote from GQ said something, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, start with homosexuality and go from there. It's the fact that he said that homosexuality is kind of this gateway to everything from polygamy to bestiality to promiscuity, and all we're doing as Log Cabin Republicans is trying to show him and the rest of America that we're no different than anybody else, and being gay has no link, and it does not lead to anything as outrageous as something like bestiality.
But you wouldn't have called for A&E to take him off. You're not happy he's off. You're not happy some sponsors are backing out. Are you? Or aren't you?
I don't think anyone should be fired from their job because they are gay, lesbian, LGBT, or Christian, for that matter. So, A&E, certainly they're able to make the decisions that they want as a network. But, I think that the fact that there's been such a surge pushing back against that has caused the network to question their decisions. We'll see what happens ultimately.
We're talking to Gregory Angelo, Executive Director of Log Cabin Republicans, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You are ticked off a little bit anyway about an LGBT targeted Obamacare ad. We're going to show it for you folks watching at Newsmax TV, and I'll explain it to you. Well, you could hear it certainly. Here's that other cut before the Coulter one.
Hope you're stuffed from your Thanksgiving. Now it is a season of giving. Before the doctor brings a lump of coal, get enrolled, get enrolled, get enrolled. And when it's time for resolutions, a health insurance solution, don't get left in the cold. Get enrolled, get enrolled, get enrolled.
All right, so for those who couldn't see it, it's more than half naked men. They're just wearing underwear, I guess, or briefs. They got the Santa hats or Santa elves, and they're making muscles. They're dancing with each other,
checking each other
out. So what? Tell me why you object to this ad.
Well, this is an ad specifically. It's not just a bunch of guys jumping around in their underwear, nor is it an ad for Abercrombie and Fitch or any sort of fashion line. This is an ad for Obamacare. It's an ad that was created and promoted by an organization called Out to Enroll, which has the full blessing of the Obama administration. It was launched with Secretary Sebelius, Valerie Jarrett there saying this is terrific. And what do? They turn around and they create an ad that exploits gay stereotypes specifically about gay men, stereotypes saying that gay men are promiscuous, stereotypes that, by the way, feed into the notion that lead individuals like Phil Robertson to conclude that, hey, I don't support this. I don't support promiscuity. And clearly you have an ad that is at least sanctioned in part by the Obama administration. The foundation that created it has received federal funds, at least in the past.
What does this say about Obama and Obamacare?
So, to me, number one, it says that this is an administration that is desperate and is really scraping the bottom of the barrel to get people to enroll in Obamacare. And they don't care if they're going to exploit the communities that they espouse represent.
What's more offensive, the Duck Dynasty comment from Robertson or this ad to you?
Hey, that's interesting. I mean, they're coming from two different places. I think. Well,
if you had to pick one, we got 30 seconds.
Yeah. I'd say it's this ad because this ad promotes the stereotypes that allow people like the Robertson to make the statements that he does.
I wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and I hope you'll come back. We'll talk again, sir.
You got it, Steve.
Thank you very much. That's you too. Gregory Angelo, Executive Director of Log Cabin Republicans, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. We got a lot more ahead, folks. We're going to speak to Alan West later in the show. Michael Myers, President, Executive Director of New York Civil Rights Coalition, will be here. Andy McCarthy will be here. Don't go away. Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax TV and radio. Keep it where it is. 877 Newsmax.